Welcome everyone to a brand new series. Today I am going to be randomizing a singular book from my 350 chess book collection and going through one or two random pages from that random book. So first I took the time to literally list every single one of my books on my Google Sheet. I can leave that in the description below if you need. But basically I selected everything and I'm going to put it in a randomizer. And then, so this is going to be a practice run. I'm going to randomize. And then you see I have all of the 350 something books there listed. Okay, so now we're going to go again. And this is going to be the final list of it all. So the number one book on top of this list is the book we're going to go through very briefly in this video. Should be fun. Okay, so I think it's again. Technical Decision Making in Chess by Boris Gelfand. No, okay, so it's right up here. Technical Decision Making in Chess by Boris Gelfand. And now we'll randomize page 123. Okay. I have no idea what we're about to look at. The chapter name is called Long Games with Increment. It's like 6 pages of analysis for one game. Is crazy. Boris Gelfand against Boris Grachev, Moscow, 2016. He's playing a strong grandmaster. I believe at the time, 2016, Grachev must have been like 2700. 2016. Yeah, mid 2600s, exactly. So Gelfand is winning because he has these 2 pass pawns in this endgame, but it's hard to convert because his king is very open and this queen can just throw a lot of checks when need be. Of course, not now. So he's contained the queen very nicely. And so he goes pawn to f4. This felt very natural during the game. White is, of course, winning, but while being pinned, it is not so easy. So he can't take this knight because the queen is pinning. I anticipated the queen endgame that occurs in the game. In the game, I made a few repetitions to gain time on the clock. So that's a practical way of playing chess, which is very instructive if you're playing in a tournament and you need more time on your clock. You should repeat. So let's say go check and then go check to gain 30 seconds on your clock quickly and then make your decision for the next move. Actually, I was seriously concerned that I might overdo it and allow a 3-fold repetition. So that's always a risk that the white pieces are having in this position, is if the queen or bishop move too far away from the king, the black queen can corner this king and force a 3-fold repetition with forced checks, whereas the king is contained in a cage. So his opponent goes pawn to f5, and now he goes queen h2 check, king g8, and queen e2. So still, I'm seeing no entry square for this queen. I really like the white position. And we're preparing maybe a check. I'm not liking my suggestion, actually. Check this, but then there's queen d1. I wanted to go here to take off the pin. Okay, it's going to be funny how white undoes this pin here. Because once this pin is solutioned, I would say, I would reckon a queen on d4 would kind of seal it. But let's see. So queen e2. King h8, and now he plays king b3. So he gets out of the pin, threatens this knight. Knight doesn't have a check, and the queen has 1 check. Ooh, okay. What's he planning there? So, evidently, queen check, king a4, and now queen d7 is played. So black is repeating a second time, because if this position with the queen on e2 and no more pawns moved, so these pawns here, repeats one more time, it's a draw. Black can claim a draw before they move the piece back to d7, or before, or after white plays king a4. So instead of, there's no checks. Oh, there's no checks. I thought this was a check. No, okay, so this is all taken up. Wow. It's so nice how Gelfand's queen is just taking up everything here. So Grachev has no checks whatsoever. Queen d1, queen a2, 0. So just goes back is the best move. And now Gelfand can build on this initiative. And he plays queen h2 check, king g8, queen a2. As I said, I'm very happy I called that. And now king h7 and queen b3. So still taking up the checking position from d1. Very interesting. And black has nothing better to do. The queen holds this position. If the queen moves out of the pin, we just take the knight. If the knight moves to an inferior square, we can start playing our queen here and maybe pushing up. I don't know. First time I see this position. So black plays king h8, which is very it's a passive mindset. You know, black is like waiting and trying to get that threefold repetition, whereas white is pushing for this win in a completely winning position. So Gelfand plays bishop e3. There's no explanation to it. It's an inferior move, says the computer, compared to other winning tries. So check, king here, queen e3 is like a progress on the position and prepares queen d4. I'm on board with this way of doing things. I think if white gets queen d4, white is winning because the queen has to get out of the pin, and then queen d8, which forces the trade of queens if the king is still here. And then the pawns roll and it's completely over. But okay, bishop e3. Knight c7 is played. So bishop e3 might have threatened to get the queen away from this pin. But I don't know how. Maybe it's just threatening this, right? The pawn is just going. So knight c7, putting some pressure on b5. And now bishop c5, knight a6. So they're repeating, okay. And now bishop e6, king h7. So this position has happened twice as well. If it happens one more time, black can claim a draw. Same for the position with the queen on e2, and I believe the king was on g8, if I stand corrected. So queen c2, king h8, queen e2. Wait, what? Right. This is the first time or second time this position has occurred with white's move. But here it's black's move. So you can't claim this as a repetition from the other times this position happened because it's someone else to move. It has to be that same person's move and the same position 3 times in a row. So this is very educational. Gelfand is playing some extremely practical chess. He's gaining time on the clock while teasing this drawing by repetition 3 times to gain ground on the position, gain time on the clock, so it's easier for him to convert this position. Very mind-blowing. Very educational for tournament players. So king h7, and now king b3. Queen d5 check. And now king c3. Oh my god, I don't like this. I think the king is too much in the open. I would much rather have my king on a4. I wonder why he doesn't go for this plan, if that's too much to ask. If anyone knows why the queen d4 plan is not desirable for white, please let me know. So black goes with knight c5. Takes. We're still on that same one page, 123. Check, king b3. So now the minor pieces are off. A queen endgame is harder to convert than a minor piece endgame. So arguably this is not the trade that Gelfand would have loved to have, but he must be very confident in this queen endgame if he's trading off those minor pieces so easily, or letting that trade happen with knight c5, forcing the trade. So king b3, check. King b4, just white pieces want to get rid of those checks. Check. Okay, at this point I was afraid of, he says, queen d4. Queen d4, queen c4, queen d6, king b3, check, and now king c3. So black has to keep continuing to make checks. If they trade queens, I mean, this is winning, right? So check. This is still what he was scared of. King b4, check, king c5, takes, king c6, so just going for glory with this pawn. Queen a8 check, king d8, king d7. And white is winning. Queen e4. I mean, he calculated all this in his head. He's crazy. This is a variation. And he was down on the clock. Takes b6, check, king c8, and this pawn will queen. Is what he's saying. So just for the sake of finishing the game, this is a long game. But Gelfand is known for having this style of like slow conversion till the end and beyond. So queen d6, king c4, queen c7 check, king b3, queen takes a5, so he does give a pawn, but he's got queen h5 check. He's probably winning this one. If you can get it with check. No, he wins this one and defends. Okay, no checks. Now, black doesn't have any checks, so queen e1, queen e5. The pawn endgame is, of course, winning for white because this pawn just queens first with check. So queen d1 check, king b4. Now white has to evade the checks. Queen d2 check, king c5, queen c1 check, king b6, king h8. I guess this check is not great because of queen c5, and there's almost no more checks. Queen here, queen here, queen here. Something like this. King b7. This pawn's coming up. Queen h1 check. King b8. This is top tier conversion. Queen c5, supporting b6 push. Queen e4, queen h5 check, king g8, queen e5, queen b4, king b7, king h7. It looks repetition-y, right? But now b6, a pawn move kills all repetitions, and it resets the threefold repetition of a position. So b6, g6, king c7, queen c4 check, king d8, queen d3 check, this check, the king moves again, no more checks for black, so queen d3, b7, here we go, g5, king c7, queen c4 check, king d8, queen d3 check, and king e8. And there are no more checks for this queen, and this pawn is queening. I hope you enjoyed the video. That was how to convert a queen and pass pawn endgame. I love how he sacked the pawn on a5. He had two pass pawns. He sacked the pawn on a5 to win this one on f5, so the queen could be close to centrality. Then the queen was central. Once the queen is central, it's easier for the pass pawn to be more concrete because the queen is stopping many of the valid checks that this queen can grasp onto. And so he traded a pawn for one pawn and a central queen, which made the endgame easier. I didn't like his choice of trading minor pieces because you don't want to do that. You want to trade queens in a position like this. And in fact, king c3, letting knight c5 is a mistake, says the computer. It goes down from 4.6 to 2.6 advantage for white. Instead, I just want to check this. So, I don't know. At one point, I liked check this and queen e3 to go queen d4. Knight c7, pressing. Oh, I guess this is the best move. So this is, it's inevitable, I guess. But it looks like we're keeping both pawns, right? And this is maybe more easy for the white pieces. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you like the series, and see you next time. Please like if you do like the series, because it's the only way I know that I should continue making them. And if it's trash, tell me in the comments. I'll enjoy it.